The views and opinions expressed on the Middle Class VO podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests. Any feelings hurt therein are an unfortunate byproduct of the quest for infotainment. Also, please be reminded that concerted efforts have been made so as not to put anyone's knickers in a twist. Having one's knickers in a twist is not an objective or goal. However, if your knickers are in a twist and it persists for more than 4 hours, please seek out a physician. Moreover, if anyone were to feel besmirched by any of the commentary on the Middle Class VO podcast, it would be purely coincidental. No besmirchment is intended. Please enjoy.
Bobby, I'm very excited. We have a very special guest coming up on the episode today.
Yes, we do. Another female. And we're actually in the same studio this week.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. Bobby and I are both in Nashville, and Bobby's down seeing her daughters. And so I said, come on by. Let's do the podcast from here.
You all have some crazy traffic here. Can I just say that?
It's nasty. It's nasty.
Otherwise, I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, it's perfect. But so excited to have on Lisa Lupari, who is one of us. She is knee-deep in her voiceover career, and we're going to be chatting with her coming up.
If you need e-learning, we're just an email away. Corporate narration, tell us what to say. Explainer video, imaging radio, slinging local cars, reading IVR. No, we ain't no stars. This is the Middle Class VO podcast. The Middle Class VO podcast. The Middle Class VO podcast.
Oh, this is so much fun, Bobby. If there's anybody, I call Bobby my work wife at times. And then if I had another work wife, it would be Lisa Lupari. If you've listened to the podcast, you already know who she is. She is the announcer at the end of the podcast who does the credits. And Lisa Lupari, so great to have you on. How are you?
I'm great, Kevin, but I want to know where my ring is. I don't see any ring on my finger.
Oh, so you're the other woman.
Do you have a ring, Bobby?
Yeah, Bobby says you're the other woman. You better put a ring
me.
on it. And my real wife would love hearing all this.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
She's like, the only one's getting a ring is me.
I'm honored to be called your other work wife.
Well, thank you, Lisa. Now, Bobby, I've told you a little bit about Lisa before, but Lisa and I go way back to 1994, I believe, is when I first met. Yeah, Lisa, that's a long time ago.
That is a long time.
And we met at WKIS Radio. Lisa was doing the morning show, and she taught me the importance of washing the listeners off you after you left a live broadcast.
Were you all like 15 back then or something?
Right, exactly.
Oh, that sounds horrible.
Washing the listeners off of you?
Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
Gotta love those listeners.
You didn't see our listeners.
Oh, I had my own.
Yeah, right.
So that segues into, Lisa, I wanted everybody to know about your story. What's your history? What led you into voiceover?
Well, basically it was because I saw where the radio industry was going. Mm-hmm. And, there were a couple of guys on the station who were doing voiceovers and one who left radio to do voiceover full time. And then another one of my friends left radio to do voiceover full time. And I'm like, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. And then I also got that taste of, we just like everyone, when we get off the air, we got to do our production load. And of course, if the spot ran on another station, then you get paid for it. I was like, oh, I like this money. Maybe there's a way to, make this money all the time. And then those two colleagues who left, they started calling me to do voice work. And I'm like, whoa, I like this a lot better than what I'm making in radio,
Cha-ching!
Yeah. And so then when I lost my job at KISS, new owners came in, took over, and I was one of the first to go. Shock, me? Why me? Me of all people? We've all been through that. It kind of freaks you out. You're like, I couldn't go to the grocery store because I was like, I can't buy food. I don't have a job, I mean, I really was that way. It was, it was scary at first. But then all of a sudden, how God works in your life, here comes all these voiceover jobs. Well, I have no job. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be okay. It's going to work out. And so I had enough voice work to get me through till I got my next radio job. But then while I had that job, which was just 4 more years that I stayed in radio, and then all of a sudden something just clicked in my head. I call it my epiphany, where it was like, it's time for you to leave. Mm-hmm. You gotta leave now. It's time. And so I called the PD at the time, and I said, can we have lunch? And I did it. And I said, when the millennium comes, I'm leaving. 2000, wow. I'm leaving. So I left in February of 2000, and no more remotes at the gas station or the Western wear place.
But don't you miss the free movie tickets? Come on, Lisa.
Yeah. Yes, I do. Okay. To be honest, yes, I do. But yeah, I don't, I know a lot of radio folks like Kevin. I think you have said that you do miss radio.
I do, but, and this is an outlet. The podcast is an outlet.
Right. I don't miss it that much. I don't miss morning drive. I don't miss getting up at 3:30 in the morning for sure. But I don't miss it that much.
My favorite shift was doing afternoon drive because you could sleep in and you could stay up late, you could sleep in late, and I could go golf in the morning if I wanted to. You could still stay up late and all that good stuff. That was my favorite shift. Lisa, I was going to tell a story when you talked about getting fired from KISS. Have I told you that story of how I knew beforehand it was going to happen?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, but tell me again.
Kevin, do you want her to do the rest of the podcast or what?
Yeah, but you know how that is. And I felt bad for you when you told me because that was horrible that you knew. Tell us again, though. I want to hear the story again.
Yeah, so I was having dinner with a worker from WKIS, and the drinks were flowing, free and heavy, and she's like, I'm taking over the morning show. And I'm like, no, I don't. No, Lisa's on that, and no. Yeah, I'm taking it over. She's done. She's going to be let go. And she was just very, very callous about it. And Lisa, if you recall the individual, she was so hungry to be famous. She wanted to be the next Howard Stern on country radio, which doesn't work, And, the last thing I knew, she's actually doing voice work, and I think she does some on-camera stuff, but she never made it as a radio talent, with much success. But that was hard to know that. What's that? Yeah, right.
Take that.
So how quick? I want to know the rest of the story. How quickly did you call Lisa?
Did I tell you prior to it happening, Lisa? Or I told you after. That was so troubling because I had a delicate balance to hold. Do I tell my good friend that she's about to lose her job, or hold on to that information for fear of losing my own job if I do tell her? Because, Lisa, I didn't know how you'd have reacted. You could have blown the place up,
Exactly. I would have, I think. I couldn't go grocery shopping.
What? But, Lisa, you have always been and are still one of the most talented people I know in this business. And I think voiceover was your calling anyway.
Yeah, I think maybe it was, because I remember my first job in radio, which was on, you weren't down here then, but there was a contemporary station called I-95, Isn't that creative? I-95. Anyway, when I was an intern and I was doing that, I don't know if you guys did this, but the surveys where you had to call people and find out what they listened to. Did you guys do that before you got into the business?
I never had to do that. No.
Okay.
I've heard of that, though.
Yeah. So they were big on that. And so I became very friendly with the production director. And sometimes he'd call me in there to do, if he needed a wild line or something like that. And I'm like, I want to do this. How do you get into this, And then I skipped over that and just went into being a personality. And so, but that was really what I liked first. When I first got into the radio business, I much would have rather been, the production director back there, recording everything.
Interesting. So what you had dabbled in voiceover during the radio career, and then you kind of shut the one door to open the next. And how did that first year go?
Oh, well, because, I do a lot of automotive, and those were my two colleagues who left that I told you about. They went to ad agencies.
Who were you talking about, by the way?
Oh, I'm talking about, at the time, his name was Steve Lewis, but he's Steve Sarner, and Steve is huge in the automotive voiceover industry. I mean, huge.
Skibidi-ba-ba-ba.
Oh, Steve, yeah. I love Steve. I was going to do an impression of Steve because he's just got the most unique sound, but it's like I'll do a payment. $199 a month, $199 down. I mean, that's pretty good, right, Lisa?
Yes, that is very good. Uh-oh,
Very angry.
Yeah. But Steve is totally a South Florida automotive VO guy. I mean, he's one of the pioneers of that sound. He really is.
Right. Yes, I would say that. And he's still extremely successful. He and I are still great friends. I am still his go-to person, and I'm very blessed because he has taken me on his ride, which has been an incredibly successful ride. But first he went to an ad agency down in South Miami. And so I would make that drive down there, because that was before ISDN or anything, And so, that was, so he was one of them. The other one was Bob Tracy, who is also a huge voiceover talent. I mean, he is the king of promo work.
Bob's going to be a future guest. I've already reached out to him,
good.
and we're just working out the scheduling, but he is going to be a guest, and I love Bob Tracy.
Yes, he is. Both Steve and Bob are just great guys, very generous. I mean, they'll help you with anything. And Bob is huge. I mean, he's the voice of radio stations, TV stations all over the country.
Wow.
His voice is very well known. But what was the question again?
Your first year in VO, how do you feel it went?
Oh, it went really well. And, that's what carried me. But then I was like, I couldn't get out, as a lot of us do. We can't get out of that radio voice. It's really hard. Yeah. So you're trying to do commercials and, you need to play the soccer mom or whatever. And, you can't get out of that announcer voice. So that's when I started training with Connie Zimmett. And Kevin knows Connie Zimmett. Bobby, you don't, but she died now, and the industry hasn't been the same since. But she was so great. And I would have to say, I would credit her with my career. I would. Because, I couldn't live on just doing announcer reads. And she got me out of that. And she was very intimidating. And I was afraid of her for the longest time. And then we just became wonderful friends. And she would have workouts every week, sometimes twice a week. And so many people trained with her. She was actually a jingle singer in New York back in the 60s. She's on some of the really famous jingles for Coke, and that's the only one I can think of right now, but there's tons of them. There's tons of them where she was on those. And she was just a wonderful mentor and someone who really helped me launch my career in voiceover and to just get out of that announcer read. In fact, I keep her book, which she never finished. She died before she was able to finish, but it's in a notebook. I keep it under the console where my mixer is, next to me. And it's almost like she's near me. And and I just feel like, I have to channel Connie if I can't, get into a character or something.
Well, it sounds like you guys were kind of ahead of the times, because the conversational read has really, really become popular in the past few years. But it was before that, right? That she was teaching you this? Wow, that's great.
Skip it a bop bop wow.
Yeah, because she was saying this is the way the industry is going, and so my first year, so in 2000, I think I made more, now not including remotes and live spots or anything, but I made more, based on my salary that I was making at the time, my first year in voiceover.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward to 2019 now. What is Lisa Lupari's day-to-day like nowadays? What are you doing?
Day to day. Hold on, Kevin. Let me stop for a minute because the dog just shook right in the middle of our conversation.
Oh, I don't care. We don't care about that. We love
that's okay.
We had seagulls a couple weeks
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if we needed to cut that part out or whatever.
No.
Okay.
Can you make him or her bark?
Greyhounds don't really bark very well.
Oh, that's right.
If it was my other greyhounds, they would howl. I could get them to howl. That would be. Oh, I do have them. I do have audio of them howling, though. I could.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. But yeah, no worries about that.
Okay.
So Lisa, what is your day to day? What are you working on like daily?
Daily. Well, I get up and, of course, I check the email first thing, what kind of auditions have come in overnight. And if I see any that are really promising, I'll just sit in here and I will just crank them out as much as I can. You know how that is with pay to play. And Kate and Jeff, who I coached with, they teach you how to break down a script. And I mean, they tell you that you need to spend a good half hour to an hour breaking down that script. But you can't do that with pay to play. You got to get in and out as quickly as possible. So, I think you just have to rely on your instincts. And so that's what I'll do. Some days it depends on what the auditions are. I'll just crank out as much as I can because my goal is to try to do 10 a day. It doesn't always happen. In fact, most days it doesn't happen if I have work. Mm-hmm. So that's difficult some days. And then the other thing I do, I try to spend at least an hour marketing. And it depends, but what I do lately is I'll go on Mandy.com or I'll go on that's the one, Mandy.com, where you can look for production houses all over the world. And I'll pick a country. Like I was marketing to Canada for a while, and I have a template email that I send out with a link to a pilot pen spot that I did, which I think is a good representation of some really good work that I've done. And it's just like, I was visiting your website, just wanted to reach out and introduce myself. And so, again, I try to do at least 10 of those a day. Doesn't always happen, but I've noticed that the people in Canada that I've sent the email to, and it's non-intrusive. There's no attachment. There's a link to my demos there. Mm-hmm. A lot of the people in Canada will respond more than the production houses in the United States.
Canadians are nicer than we are.
I mean, oh my God, they're so nice. And
I really think that's true.
This is what I'm finding out.
Lisa, that's what it's all about.
Yes, right.
They're just nicer. That's what it's all about.
Love my Canadians.
I know. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I'm doing all day. And then, billing, of course, billing stuff. I do have someone who helps me with that once a week.
What kind of jobs, though? What kind of jobs are you doing day to day?
Okay. Well, it's a lot of automotive. That is my bread and butter. The other stuff is a lot of e-learning. I've got a couple of e-learning companies that I work with. And
anybody I know?
You. You.
Boy, that wasn't
Kevin,
fishing or
thank
anything,
you.
Kevin. Jeez.
Humble brag.
Kevin is the other guy who thank you very much, Kevin, because Kevin sends me a good amount of work, and I truly
What will we do
appreciate
without
that.
Kevin?
I know.
Oh,
I'm
I
saying
try.
that. Yeah.
And you know what I try to do is I try to be loyal to people, and, do good work, do quality work, be timely, be professional, and that's all. That is huge in the industry. It is to me.
Totally
I know that.
agree with you. Yeah.
It definitely is. In fact, that's one of the things that I put in my little email marketing that I send out, and it says, I'm reliable, prompt, and easy to work with. That's my tagline, And I think that means a lot to people, and especially in automotive, you've got to be prompt,
Yeah.
What about representation, Lisa? When did you get your first agent, if you do have them, and what percentage of your work or auditions comes from that?
In the beginning, I really wasn't pursuing agents in the beginning, and really I just started to I have, some small agents and, casting agencies that I'm with, but I didn't really start pursuing that until I started coaching with Kate and Jeff. And Kate is like, you need to get some good agents, So she gave me a list. She gave me this great how to get an agent process where it's this whole process. It's an 8-week process. And so you're sending them something every single week. And so that's what I've been doing. So recently I picked up 2 Chicago agencies. One is Desante Talents and Lily's Talent, both in Chicago.
That's interesting. That's not a conflict?
No, believe it or not, it's not.
That's cool.
And as long as you play by the rules, and if one of them sends whoever sends it first, that's who you do it for, and you bow out with the other one. But it is incredible the jobs that come through those agencies are, and I just started with them, so I can't really say the percentage that I get from them yet. But the quality of the jobs is, and the payment is just, it's unbelievable. What a difference! Where you're like, wow, yeah, as opposed to pay to plays.
But with you, it's probably like with most of us, the agency stuff is just one little piece of the marketing pie, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, because, we talked about how it's a numbers game. It really is. And, sometimes I get sick of auditioning, because I do. I'm not, don't you get sick of it sometimes?
I do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. 100%. Like, Lisa and I were actually, just a little disclosure here. Lisa and I were chatting earlier. And I'm like, Lisa, let's stop this conversation. Let's bring this on the podcast. And she's like, okay, yeah, cool. And so, yeah, this is kind of where we were. All last week, I was like, meh, not doing that one, not doing that one, and dismissing them. And then this week, I'm like, yeah, I feel great, So, yeah, I get sick of them. I think we all do, Lisa.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, and I think you do need a break. I don't think I've auditioned hardly at all this week. Well, I've been busy. I've been busy with other work, too. But some days I say, gosh, why can't I just have this work all the time and not have to work so hard to get it?
Go out of town, Lisa. Because as they say, all you have to do is go on vacation or go away.
Right. Yeah.
And then that's where all the jobs come in.
Yes.
Yeah, right, exactly. And that's the other thing, too. Just being tied to the studio and being afraid to go on vacation. My friends, they want to go on a cruise in October, and it's the first week of October. And I'm like, I can't go then. That's when all of my
Automotive.
Right. And they're like, oh, come on, bring your little, your gear with you. And I usually do bring my gear, but at least once a year I take that week of vacation or I don't work.
Good.
But this year I think I'm going to have to because, you can't, that's kind of scary losing, because that would be like losing probably 50% of my income that month, taking off that week. So it's scary. You don't know, I'm a very spiritual person and I always say, you know what? God'll send the work to you if, especially if you lose an account with Automotive or you miss a job. I always say, it's okay. God's going to bring you something better than that.
Absolutely. Lisa, you got to promise me this one thing. If you do go on that cruise and you take your gear to work from there and you happen to do an audition, would you please do me this favor? And when you slate your audition, would you say, Lisa Lupari, I'm on a boat?
Yes, Kevin, I will do that just for you.
Get their attention, if nothing else.
You're going to book it, I guarantee it.
Right, exactly.
Lisa, we're going to let you go here in just a second, but one final question. We're just talking about the industry as a whole. What problems do you see with the VO world right now?
I think it's the same thing we've all been, complaining about lately, and that's some of the pay-to-plays that are just, there isn't a lot of transparency. We don't know what the true rate is for the job because some people are double dipping, and just, I see a lot that they want in perpetuity rights, and I'm like, no one should be asking for in perpetuity rights. Unless you're going to pay me $50,000 or something like
right,
that.
Right, exactly.
And that shouldn't be allowed. They shouldn't even be allowed to do that. And one of the agents that I just got, hey, you two girls, hey, I'm recording a podcast right now. I got my 2 greyhounds here. They're bored and they want to play.
it.
Can you please be quiet a little bit? Yeah, you know what? When the dog barks when you're right in the middle of the session,
Yeah, our show's gone to the dogs.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so I was saying one of the agents that I just got, I hadn't heard from her in it was like a month and a half. So I just sent an email and I'm like, hey, I just wanted to make sure it was still on your radar. And hey, girl, stop playing. I'm trying to record here. Can you please be quiet? Just be quiet for a minute. We're almost done. Okay, we're almost done. Zoe and Nala.
And the beautiful thing about this is Lisa, you rescue greyhounds, right?
Yes, I do.
I love that.
So that's just Lisa's one of the good ones. So go ahead, finish your story.
So she said, you know what, Lisa, the problem is we have to turn down 90% of the jobs that come into this agency because the rate of pay is ridiculous and we just won't ask our talent to record for these ridiculous rates. So she said it is such a tough industry now. We're having to, compete with these pay-to-plays and if the voiceover talent continue to just do these jobs, for $150 and $200 for in perpetuity rights or buyouts or whatever, she said it's an uphill battle, but we're still gonna work it. We're still fighting. So years ago, you probably would have gotten a lot more auditions through your agent, and now it's just not happening. They're having a hard time surviving, really. But if we all don't get on board, if we all don't say we're not going to take it anymore, we're not going to do it, then it's not going to happen because everyone and their mother thinks they can be a voiceover talent now. I don't mean that I'm like some diva or something like that, but you know what I mean. I mean because it's so easy to record now.
I know what you mean, Lisa. You're being a diva. No, as I mentioned, Lisa's one of the good ones, has been doing this 19, 20 years, and she is part of us. She is one of us, part of the middle-class VO community. And Lisa, thanks for your insight today. Thanks for sharing the knowledge of your career. And I think people will learn a lot from this, Bobby.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great story you've had. Go play with those puppies, would you?
Yeah.
And so if anybody wants to reach out to Lisa, it's lisalupari.com, Lupari.com. Lisa, the normal Lisa, Lisa. So, Lisa, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Bobby. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Lisa.
And make sure and listen for Lisa's billboard at the end of the program, the reading the credits.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Give it a ba ba ba.
So nice to have Lisa on. She is, like I said, totally one of the good ones. And did you learn anything? I mean, or were you surprised by anything that she said?
The thing that surprised me the most was, and I brought it up to her, is that she was being taught the conversational read 19 years ago.
Yeah.
I love that.
That was a trend that started, I guess, probably around then.
Yeah.
And she was referring to Connie Zimmett, a couple times. Connie Zimmett was a South Florida legend as far as coaching goes, voice acting goes, and she, of course, had the singing. And her son, Zach Zimmett, actually helped produce the McVop jingle.
Oh, wow.
Isn't it a small world?
It sure is.
Yeah.
It all comes back to the same start.
Yeah. So anyway, we had fun talking with Lisa. She's part of the middle class VO community. And I guess we're done.
I guess we're done. I'm going to head back to Ohio.
Going back to Ohio. Was your city gone? That's so
I know.
dumb.
Pretenders. I know what you're talking about.
We will talk to you next time on the Middle Class VO podcast. Until then, you can find us in a bunch of places.
Yeah, you can check us out on YouTube, and we're on iTunes now.
We're trying. We're trying. They don't like our artwork size, and I got a guy working on it. So
They're like the what would you call it?
the Nazis.
Thank you. That's a word I was-
Artwork Nazis. But yeah, Podbean, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. We got links on
We're on
Instagram.
Twitter. We're everywhere.
Yeah. So check us out, and check us out next time on the Middle Class VO podcast.
Bye.
The Middle Class VO Podcast is a K2 Media Productions production.
All views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests. The McVop jingle was written and produced by Kevin.
Co-produced and performed by Chloe Dolandis.
Additional engineering by Zach Zimmett.
Bobby's hair and makeup by Rebecca Adlita.
Kevin's wardrobe by Slippery Pete's Fashion Emporium.
All previous episodes are available for download on Podbean.
For the Middle Class VO podcast, I'm Tracy Thibodeau.
I'm Lisa Lupari.
Thanks for listening.
And don't miss the next episode of
The Middle Class VO Podcast. The Middle Class VO Podcast.
That's why we got such big asses.
Daddy got fat. Little in the middle, but you got much back. Little in the middle, but you got much back.
I'm on a boat.